Alright, that's figured out. Now let's do file, save as lure molds, and we're gonna do new folder, and we're gonna name it tube worm. You like Krabby Patties, don't you, tube worm? Okay. Tube worm. Alright, so as the video description enticed you, in this video I'm going to be designing a worm style bait that has basically a skirt similar to a tube in FreeCAD. It's going to be smallmouth bass lure, probably about in the neighborhood 2.5 inches long. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do in our part design workbench of FreeSketch, we're going to open up the sketcher and we're going to sketch in the XZ plane, and then we're going to set up to do a revolve around this is going to be our Z axis, I believe, but we're going to set up to revolve around the Z axis to create the main body of our worm. So I'm going to start there, give it a radius, and I want these to be tangent, and I want this to come down here, and then I'm going to use this origin line to be the point where the skirt is going to start on the worm. But for right now, I'm just going to make a little tail to complete our basic worm shape, and then I need to come in and set my constraints. So this is going to be a horizontal constraint. When this shows up, this is my constraint. So a little bit about FreeCAD. The constraint constrains the geometry of the sketch. So this here is a horizontal constraint, just this little dash. If I delete that, now that line can move up and down. If I click here and constrain it horizontally, now it can only move, it's locked horizontally. It could still move up and down in that orientation, but I grab that, it's not going to pivot up and down like it was before. And you need to have your sketch fully constrained, because if you don't, Luna, stop. If you don't have your sketch fully constrained, one second. All right. Sorry about that. If you don't have your sketch fully constrained, it can mess up your 3D profile later on down the line, which you don't want. So this is my second attempt trying to stream FreeCAD. So I've got the sound working, which is an improvement over the last one. So if anybody is watching this and wants me to slow down or explain something further, Um, please let me know. Okay, but back to what we were doing here, explaining constraints. This is a tangent constraint, which basically sets this line to be coming up to this circle, this arc, and then that line will be 90 degrees from the point that it intersects the circle. So if I were to draw a line from the center of that arc out to that point and then measure that angle, it's going to be 90 degrees. And you'll notice the rest of the sketch turned orange when I went to do that. That's because I'm over constraining the sketch. The software already knows that that has to be 90 degrees because of this tangent constraint that I've already put here. So that's why it was throwing a little error there. You don't want the sketch to be over constrained because that can also cause you problems when you go to turn this 2D sketch into a 3D geometry. And that's no bueno. The software's smart enough where it won't let you do that. It will let you turn this into a 3D geometry if it's not fully constrained. And you can tell whether or not it's fully constrained because if I come in here and set a length here, let's say 25.4 millimeter, which is exactly equal to 1 inch, and then come here and say, well, here, look, that line now turned that light green color. That's telling me that line, that particular point in that sketch is now fully constrained, but the rest of it, so this line can't move. The rest of the sketch can still move, but that line cannot. So we're going to go ahead and go back to putting some constraints and dimensions on our sketch so we can make our worm. We're going to make this taper down. Another thing to remember when you're doing a revolve is that if I put in 0.5 millimeter here, when I revolve it, that diameter is going to be 1 millimeter. So keep that in mind if you're going to do this as a revolved section. And doing these worm style baits as a revolved section is the way to go. So I'm going to go back here, and I want the bait to be 1/4 inch in diameter. So I really want it to be this length to be 1/8 of an inch. And to tell FreeCAD that, I'm going to do 1/8 0.125 times 25.4. And FreeCAD will do that math and calculate that. All right, so that's our sketch. And now I'm ready to revolve this body to create the main portion of our bait. And FreeCAD is just that easy. Now I've got that 2D sketch as a 3D profile. Okay, so that's the basic shape. And to make this a tube, a hybrid tube worm, I need to add a little skirt here, right? So probably it's going to look like a little umbrella. And I'll just do like a little rough outline of what I'm going to go after. I kind of want something really like this. Kind of something like that is what I'm going to want. And I'm going to want multiple appendages coming off of that body on this arc, tapering down to the tail. I could, I could probably... I said I was going to use this as the line, but I think it would probably look better if maybe it was something more... a little bit more like that, maybe. And this kind of... maybe this isn't a straight up radius, and it's a like an elliptical or hyperbolic curve where it starts like up here, like a quarter of the way down, and then stops like a quarter of the way from the end. I think that might way to go. So to define that, those points, I'm going to select this geometry on the 3D portion, and that's going to leave those points in my sketch that I'm creating. And I can actually come back here and hide my body so I can see what the reference geometry I just created. And all I have to do that is just select this in my feature tree and hit spacebar, and it's going to toggle that back and forth. Okay, so I got my reference geometry started, and I know I want my skirt to start and stop 1/4 of the way down from the top and 1/4 of the way up from the top. So what I'm doing is creating a reference. These are called construction lines. This is just reference geometry that won't affect the 3D profile that I'm going to output. And then what I'm going to do is come up here and then draw another line up to here. I'm going to draw 4 lines up to there. I'm going to draw another line up here and another line up there. Set this to coincide. And then I'm going to set these 4 lengths to be equal to each other. And it's going to over-constrain the geometry. Why did it do that? I don't know why it did that necessarily. But I've got some redundant constraints, so I can click on that, delete that redundant constraint, and see what... I'm not sure what it didn't like there. Sometimes FreeCAD will put in some geometry automatically and say it's over constrained, and what you can do is what I just did there, where I selected, well, here, redundant constraints. I can select that, hit delete, and oh look, now it's not over constrained anymore. So that's actually pretty easy in FreeCAD. And then I just have 1 degree freedom left, so I'm going to go ahead and slap a number on that. It doesn't really matter. Because remember, all I'm doing here, what I really wanted was these 2 lines set 1/4 of the way up the body and 1/4 of the way down the body. And these are going to be my starting and stopping points for my little skirt. So with that, let's start making our little skirt. I'm going to want let's make a hyperbola. And what I want is a hyperbolic line. What did it do there? I want a hyperbolic line. I'm not super familiar with the hyperbola. What did it do there? Okay. I think it's here, 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 and there. What is it doing? Here, here. Aha, there we go. Okay. It's upside down from what we wanted. But... okay, I think I can work with that. Yeah. And then I want this. Want that. Well, I want this point to coincide with this line. And I want that point to coincide with that line. And I want this point to coincide with the center line. And now I want this point to coincide with this line. And now I just need to set the diameter from the center. And my hyperbola is ready to go. So what do I want? I'd set a 1/4 inch. Let's just make this a 1/2 inch diameter, and we're going to do that by making this a 1/4 inch, which is 6.35 millimeter. And that still thinks it's not fully constrained. Why is that? That's why. Okay, I kind of want... it's not making a huge difference there, really, but... I'll just go ahead and make that, I don't know, 50. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've got my bait, and I got this little line coming out of there. Look at that little guy. So what do I do with that is now the question. So what I want to do here is create a new sketch that's going to be a circle on this point, and then another sketch that's going to be a circle down here. And I'm going to create a tapered profile that goes down the length of that arc. That's going to start as a larger diameter up here and then taper as it goes down here. Using the additive pipe, I believe, additive pipe feature, which is, I believe any other CAD software is probably going to refer to this as a swept profile. But FreeCAD calls it an additive pipe for whatever reason. And I'm going to want my XZ plane. Going to select that, create a sketch. And going to come back here, hide my origin. And I want to create reference geometry off of there. And I'll hide that to make that go away. And slap a little diameter on here. Slap a little dimension on my diameter circle here. And we'll make this... why don't we make this 3 millimeter for shiggles. Do file save. And then we are going to unhide this sketch. And this is going to be a little bit more complicated here. And we now want to create a circle that's going to come down here and be oriented in this direction, centered on that point. But if I go to my origin, I don't have a nice plane that starts right there to draw that on. So how am I going to do that? I have to create what's called a datum plane and set it up to come down here on that point. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to start with this plane, because this plane is oriented such that it's almost how I want it, but not really. So I want to create a datum plane that's going to intersect with that point up there. So click that, and it's already selecting my XY plane as a reference. And reference 2 is going to be that point, and look, it drops that plane down to that point, which is where we want it. So come back, hide our origin, again, select our plane, create a sketch, and we'll probably want to hide these sketches just to make it easy on ourselves. Don't want to hide that one yet because we need to make that reference geometry. And now we can hide it, create our little circle, and we started at 3 millimeters, so why don't we taper it down to, say, why don't we taper it down to millimeter and a half. That's probably a pretty good taper. And we'll hide our plane, show all of our other stuff, and now we are ready to do the additive pipe feature to construct our little arm on this guy. Okay. So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to select the profile that I want to sweep on, which is sketch 1. Oh, I need to close that because we're done. We're done with that now. Alright, now I'm going to select this, and then I am going to additive pipe, and my profile sketch 1, I did that little backwards there. I don't want that to be sketch 1. I want this to be sketch 1. Go ahead, hide that, make it easier on ourselves to see what we're doing. And then my object is going to be one of these circles, and you could see there it's going to say, oh, you want this. And I'm going to say, well, that's almost what I want. I want you to do a multi-section and taper down to that circle. And now look at that. Now we got that that nice tapering curve there. Hit OK, and then now we've got a nice little arm there. Okay. And I'm looking at that thinking, I don't know if that's really what I want, because I think I want this to come out further, and that's fine. So how we're going to do to fix that is we're going to come back into this sketch and then move where our profile, go ahead, hide that, and we're going to bring this out from the center further and hide this, and I'm going to want this to come out further that way, so I'm going to drop a line in here, and I know that this is going to be 1/8 of an inch times 25.4, Okay. And just to make it fully constrained, we'll slap a constraint on there. Alright, so I know my bait is going to be a cylinder that's going to come out to here. I can't just move this all the way over out to here because then it's going to leave a little bit of a gap. So it has to be inside of this a little bit. I don't know exactly how much that is. I could figure it out if I really wanted to. But for this stuff, close enough is good enough. So I am going to delete that constraint, and that allows me to now move my hyperbola start point out there. I do still want this constraint to that, the center point of the hyperbola. And now I still want this constraint to that, but I want this to come out, I'd say probably probably 2 millimeters. Okay, and this is going to break the additive pipe we just did. And I'll show you how to come back in there and fix it. And see, look at that. It doesn't... Or no, it's, I guess it was okay with that. Let me see. Doesn't quite make sense to me. Well, I've never seen that. Looks weird. I think I'm okay with that. I'm still going to go ahead and do what I was going to show earlier. But I'm okay with this how it is right now. Go back and show my... Okay. Yeah. I think that looks better. That looks better than it did before, at least. That's probably where the hook's gonna come out, right around in there somewhere. Okay, so I still want to show what I was going to show, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to come back and do another datum plane. Hit it with an OK. And I know that I set the start point of that circle 2 millimeters out from the center to the right. So I'm going to come in here and shift that plane. Now we're going to shift this plane 2 millimeters in the, this is going to be the Y negative direction. So if I do -2, is that not? See? Let's see. Okay. Why is that Z? I don't know. Doesn't matter. We moved it. We moved it 2 millimeters out that way. That's what we wanted to do. And now what I want to do is drag this plane up here. Can I do this? Alright. And then I want to take sketch 2, right? And edit it so it's on the datum plane 1. There we go. So now if I come back here to that sketch is now on datum plane 2. And we'll hide that plane and come back and show our additive pipe. And you can see it's still got a little bit of funny business, but it's FreeCAD, you're going to have that. That is now moved from where it was out to there. Okay? It's not rocket surgery. Maybe it is. I don't know. And there we've got our basic tube worm. See, I almost want this to be, I think I want this to be arched more. So why don't I come in here? I think it's sketch 1, yeah. And I'm just gonna make this like 200. What happens if I make this ridiculously huge? $1,000? I don't know if that's really gonna... I want it to like come out and then down more. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make that a constructed line, and I'm going to make I want to make a radius. No. I'm going to create an arc. Delete that. Create an arc coming out from the same point. Yeah, and I want this to be tangent to that, and I want this on the origin axis. That didn't do it. What did that do? Alright, it's bogging down. It doesn't. Okay. And then I want, yeah. Okay. See, it doesn't like something. Alright. Delete that. I think that's what's causing it. That was what's causing it to lag out. And this coincidence. I want this to be vertical. And I want that to be 1/2 inch from center. So 12.7 divided by 2. And I want this to be on that 1/4 inch down line, and I think that's gonna look better. This line's under constraint, but I don't think that matters. Okay. Yeah, that looks better. That's what I wanted there. Yeah. Okay. All right, so now I just got to do that 7 more times, right? However many arms I want. Actually, there's an easier way to do that. But before I do it the easier way, to go ahead and add a radius there and here. Okay, save. And then you might be asking, what's the easy way if you don't, you had to do that all that time to create that one arm. What's the easy way to do it 7 more times? Well, we're going to switch over to our part workbench, and we are going to make copies of this basic shape by doing create a copy, create a simple copy. Alright, and FreeCAD just copied that geometry and put it in the exact same spot. But I don't want it in the exact same spot. I want it rotated, say, 45 degrees that way. Yeah. Yeah, now I got 2 arms. Okay, that's pretty cool, right? Well, what if I, okay, hear me out. What if I take this and do the same thing again? Oh, look at that. Now I got 3 arms. And then what if I do that and I do the same thing again? We'll all be dipped in poo-poo. Look at that. You think it'll work again? I bet it does. Well, look at that. Okay. Now I'm going to show you another way to accomplish the same thing we just did. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take that and we're going to say, I want a mirror. I would like to mirror you over the, I think it's going to be YZ plane. A little technical difficulty there. I think I want this taper starting up here. This looks kind of weird how that is. So I'm gonna, I should have noticed, I would have been easier on myself if I would have noticed that earlier. This is still easy enough. I can go back and go back to my revolve sketch at the very beginning where it all started. And I'm gonna make those I'm gonna make those reference geometry so I don't break anything. Then come down here and I want to make it 1/4 the length. So 1, 2, 3, and this on there to be buddies. Undo that. You and let's see. We'll just do this the easy way instead of doing that. We're gonna come here, and I know the thing's 2 inches long. 1/4 of 2 inches is a 1/2 inch, which is 12.7 millimeter, and look at that. Okay, we're good. And it's gonna mess up my flip minions. Come back. Redo my fillet. I think that looks better. That looks better. Save that. Go back to our part design. And then we're going to redo this part. Create simple copy and transform and rotate. Okay. And then part, create copy. And transform. Okay. And then simple copy, crap. Transform. Okay. And then transform. Okay. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit here from what I showed you guys earlier. We're going to do a Boolean. What? Yeah, okay, I didn't like that for some reason. Well, let's see if I can do this. I didn't like that for some reason. I left out. I clicked too fast. Go ahead and Boolean those. And Boolean these. And then Boolean these. I didn't like that. Okay. Got a hole in my geometry now. Sometimes the Booleans in FreeCAD misbehave. I didn't like that one either. Go back. Start from the beginning. Alright, one at a time. Union. 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 Alright, it doesn't like that for some reason. And I think what I need to do is part, convert to solid. Saying those are already solids. So why is it doing what it's doing? Okay, so oops, that one was a cut. So it doesn't like one of those for some reason. It doesn't like this one. Alright. So this one, the original body is what's given us trouble. So what if I hide him, and then I'll do part, convert to solid. No, that's not what I wanted. Part, create simple copy, and transform. Okay. And then we're going to do this and this. Union. And alright, that worked. And now, I know I said that was a shortcut, but it kind of took a while to get there. Now we're going to go ahead and mirror over the YZ. I didn't like that. whatever. And then we'll you little goofy goober. So these booleans can be a pain sometimes. So let's create a solid, then come here and union them. Why are you doing that? Do I have to embed them? No. Connect. Continue. No. Why is it doing that? Alright. What if I do this and I do part, simple copy, transform, rotate. Okay, union. Why is it doing that? Can I do this? Turns them both to solids. Part. It's a shape element copy. That's interesting. I don't know why this isn't working. There's something it doesn't like somewhere. I'm not getting. Let's make compound, I wonder. Oh, well that worked. Alright. Okay. That's a trick for my notebook. We're going to go ahead and export this as a step file for later. And now the next thing we need to do is create the mold. So yeah, we were just getting started with the fun there. We're not done yet. So let me think about how I want to do this mold. I can see this as a 4-piece mold. Really a 5-piece, 4 main pieces and then a clamping piece. And I think yeah, I think yeah, if I do it that way, that should work. So, yeah. Okay. I've got to have it come down. Man, that's gonna be a weird shape. I gotta wrap my brain around. Gotta wrap my brain around how I want to do that. Alright, I think if I do it as... do file new, I'm gonna go back to part design, and I'm gonna do a half circle and I'm gonna do 25.4 should be big enough. So 25.4. Okay, close that. And I want this to be... How about I try... I'm going to want it to be half of the length, and I'm going to want it to be 65 millimeter for the mold. So how about I do 65 divided by 2? Okay. Did I do that right? That doesn't look right to me. Why is that? Oh. I want the diameter, not the radius, so divide that by 2. That looks right. That looks more right. More righter. And next one I want to do... I'm going to hide that. I want to do another sketch. And then I got to remember what I made my arms. I had them starting... Okay, I got to really think about this. I want it coming up from the bottom to be... 12.7. So that's going to be where in the mold body the arms would start and then come out. And I had it so that the arms were starting... The arms were starting 2 millimeters. Does that look right? Yeah, that looks right. And then this was like that, and like that, and like that, and like that, and like... This was... This was 6.35, right? Because this was 125 times 25.4. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that's the center line that the little umbrella arms is going to follow. And I want the mold to separate on that center line. So then I want this, and this to be real geometry. And I want more real geometry from here to here to there. And I want to do file save, top mold, save, and then I show my pad again, select my sketch, and I want to do a revolve cut. I guess they call it a groove, but and is that gonna, yeah. Okay, so now I got a little cutout there. And is that, yes, that is, okay. Or you know what, I can do this mold a different way. Yeah, I can do this a different way. Okay, I know what I want to do. We're going to make this pad the full length of 65 millimeter. And then we're going to go back to this sketch. And then this is going to be 3/4 of the way up. Is that right? Let me think about that. That's going to come up. No, because the tail, that's where the tail's going to be. And I can make the tail, that doesn't need to be so tall. I could come back here and make this say 55 millimeter. And I think that'll do it. Okay, so that's gonna be file save. And then I'm gonna want to make a new sketch. And I'm gonna want to, man, I just exhausted a lot of brain power. A lot of brain power thinking through that. And I have to do it again on this one. Man, my brain is fried right now. Okay. 7 times 3 plus 5, and then this is 7, and that dimension was, what was that dimension? I don't have to guess, I can go back and look. Two millimeters. Okay. Two millimeters. All right. Then I want a line there and there and up to there. And that should we'll do a rotate, 180-degree rotate to get half of it. Okay. File save as. We'll call this half plug. Save. Okay. Okay. And then I'll do a new assembly. File save as tube worm assembly. We want to import the top mold and the half plug. Make sure those, I messed up that radius again. Sketch. I thought that looked kind of weird. Now we come back here. That looks more gooder. Except yeah, that's right. But I want to make that 5 millimeters longer. Okay. What's the easiest way to do that? We're going to go back to the pad, make this 60, and then do +5. File save. this. Open. Transform. Okay. Okay. And then file save. That looks right. And next I want to do, go back and find my, I think it's in the hydro worm, yeah, the nozzle. This is the model I have for the injector that goes into the mold. And then I want to import my, go back to the tube worm and do the step file from earlier. Look at that. There's our little worm bait. File save. And we're gonna center this guy on this guy. Okay. That looks good. And we want to center this guy on that guy. Accept. And we want to move this up. And I'll move this guy. This is where it's going to be hard because I need to get all right, let me think about this. All right, I know how to do this. Placement. I know this line is at 12.7 millimeters from the origin, and the origin's halfway down the bait. So I need this to be in the Z, wherever the Z0 is. Where's Z0 gonna be? Where is Z0 gonna be? Let's just move this to 0 and see. Okay, so Z0 is based off this one, which is 35.8, which is 380.1 plus 5. So then I need to, that's going to be, move it up to the halfway point, and then I need to subtract 12.7, 30.4. Should put it where I want it to go. $30.4. That looks right. Okay, and then I just need to move my nozzle down. That That should do. Okay. All right, now this is where things are gonna make or break. I'm gonna want to go back to my part workbench, and I'm gonna want to do a union. Ha! I knew it. Okay, that's where. Can I make that a compound? I can make that a compound. Does that need to be converted to solid? Part. Convert to solid. Compound solid. Okay. Alright. Getting really close here to the full bait. Now I want to do a cut. Moment of truth. Ah, it didn't work. Okay. It's gonna let me do it on the bottom half. No. Okay. That's alright. I have one more trick up my book, and then if this doesn't work, I'm gonna have to... it didn't like something there. Part... What does that do? Nope, didn't like that. Closer, but still no. Well, let's try this. Let's try this. Yeah, I knew it doesn't like the... Doesn't like this one. Do I need to convert that to solid? Already a solid. What if I do this? Refine that. This. Nope. Well, thought about it longer before it didn't work. Do I have any other tricks in my book? What does that do? Compound filter. That didn't do anything. What about this? Okay. I gotta think. Let's do part. Convert to solid. It's gonna say it's already a solid. What if I do create a copy, a simple copy? I hide that one. And what if I do this? Nope. Still no. Yeah. I'm so close. These booleans can always get... Booleans are always where I get stuck like this. What if I do... Well, you know what? You know what? I only need half. I don't need the whole thing because here I'm only doing half of the mold. So what if I just do one of these guys? And then come back here. And transform. And constrain that. Why didn't it like that? Why did you no likey? They are not constrained to fix part. Okay. How about this? Alright. That's just one of those weird FreeCAD things. And then this was... I think that should be 0, 0. This was 30.4. Yeah. And then I'm just gonna make this 0, 0. Those should have been 0. I don't know why they weren't. Okay, this will hopefully work now. Go back to part, do a quick file save. Fingers crossed. Alright. Roll Tide, feller. And then we go and do our cut. There. And look at that. Look at that. There is our 4-piece tube worm design. We're going to do a file save really quick. And then I need to do a clamp to go around the OD and clamp this all together for when we do the plastic. Alright, so I can go back here, file, save. Don't need that anymore, don't need that anymore, don't need that anymore. And I will do a file new, part design, sketch, and for the clamp, get some arcs going, get some lines going, get some more lines and some more lines, some more lines and some more lines. Do that, that, and then do this. And I'm gonna make these equal and these equal. Okay, and then I want the ID to be what did I make that? Maybe I shouldn't have closed that out so soon. Okay, so that's an inch. diameter. Sketch. This will be 12.7. And I only need this to be like, if I make the radius 16, that should be good enough. And then I'll make this 3.3. And then I only need these to be, say, 10 millimeter. And this to be, say, half millimeter. And I'll make that 1 millimeter. Make sure there's enough space in there. Close that. And I made the entire mold 60 millimeter. So there's that, and then we'll do another sketch on this face with some liney doodles. I want 3 lines. Make that horizontal. That's constrained. I want this to be equal to that, and I want this. I'll make it 10 millimeters off. And then I want some circle dudes, circly dudes, and I want to make these all equal. And I want them to be 4 millimeters for an M3 screw to go. And do a through hole. Cancel. I want to do through hole. And there's our clamp. That's going to be okay, save. And that is going to slide over that's going to slide over this whole thing and clamp it all together. Clamshell. And now I'm looking at that. I'm looking at this, and there's nothing that is going to keep this. There's nothing that's going to line up this part of the mold with this part of the mold. So what I'm going to need to do... okay, I know what I need to do now. But I'm going to have to do one more minor modification. I'll go back to the assembly, but I'll show the clamp is going to slide over okay, whatever. That's going to slide over that like so, and that'll be level like so, and that clamps will be another one on this side, another one of these on this side. Screws go through there, clamp it all together, inject it down through the top. work, but I don't need that in here. And what I do need to do is go back and put a little bit of more geometry in there to index this piece relative to this piece properly. And there is an easy way for me to do that. Well, I can think of two easy ways to do that. One, I could just make a screw hole through the middle here. And that lines it up pretty nicely. But I'm gonna go, I think it'll be the more accurate route, and do a little notch, a little groove in here with a little notch sticking out of there that'll index those. And I don't really want to mess with having to go through all these cuts again. So I'm going to do cut one, file, export this as a step file, and then I'm going to do a file, export that as a step file, and do a file open, cut one. That's bizarre. I don't know why that did that. That was strange. Part design, import. What the heck is going on there? Part, I've never seen this before. Can I convert it to a solid? What is going on there? What is going on with that? Hold on here. File. Yeah. Okay, let me check something here. All right. Okay. Why in the hell is it doing that? Now I'm really confused. I, all right. Um, okay. Okay. Is it gonna let me do this? Is it gonna let me do this? We will see. Yeah. Yeah. What the hell? That is so weird. Alright, I'm gonna have to do this. Okay. Alright. Um... Alright, I don't need that anymore. I'll just do this a different way. And we are going to edit cube. And we want the height to be, say, 5 millimeters, the length to be 4 millimeters, width of 10 millimeters is fine. We'll just make it 13 for shiggles. Placement. -2. And I want that. Yeah, okay, that's right. And I'm going to do cut 1. We're going to subtract that cut from there. Okay, now we got a little notch. And then I just want to do a new little cubidoodle. Edit cube. And we want it to be 10 is fine. Length. I want this to be like 3.7. A little bit smaller than that slot. And go back, and we want it to be, I think I only want it to be 4. Okay with there being a little gap in between that and there. And then we go to placement, -2. And we'll do one of these. No, I want it to be -3.7 divided by 2. Now it's centered in there. And that's going to index, that'll index this inside of this. And I do a little union doodle there. Okay, file, save. And then we did take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. And that is our finished mold. That is our finished mold there. File, save. We're going to go ahead and do a file export. New folder. CAD. Tube worm CAD. Okay. Save. File export. And that's our plug. Save, okay. And we're going to want to open our clamp back up. File, export. Tube worm. Clamp. Okay. That's that. Come back to Orca Slicer. And I don't want that. We'll do file import to worm CAD. Do our clamp first. Move that over there. Then we will do our little pluggy duty. Alright, look at that. Look at that. That looks so nice. Okay. And we'll go to global. We're going to want to clone one of those. And since it's symmetric, it doesn't really matter. But let's say it wasn't symmetric, we would want to mirror it. But that's not going to do anything. So we'll... But there, you can mirror it in the slicer, and then you get your other half of the mold. 13. Whatever, that's fine. That's going to be like that. Move that guy out of the way again. Import our top. And then we'll clone. Of course. Mirror along Y. Now you got your two halves of that guy. And you can see how those would all print. Those would all print. I normally use PETG to print with. We're going to just go ahead and center these all up, make them look pretty. And 0. I'm going think I could just, yeah, do that. And slide those that way. But yeah, that was a mold entirely designed. And then that's going to make a little worm. We basically constructed a negative cavity for our little tube worm guy. That is going to look like that, except on both sides. So that was the complete FreeCAD design of a creature tube worm type style bait that will probably catch some smallmouth. Put a little jig head on there, slide that on a jig head, smallmouth will eat that up like candy, I'm sure. So I think that's it for the live stream. You can visit my website at www.3dprintedmolds.com. And thank you all for watching. This one was a little bit of a doozy, but I think that's gonna be a nice little soft plastic bait when we get around to making that fella. So, all right. That's all for now. Have a good one. How do I end this?